everybody. This is Sodhi from CAAN Wings Consultants Private Limited. Welcome to my weekly YouTube session. So in this particular session, I'm going to give you a lot of clarity regarding what the offshore migrants should expect in the times to come. I'm not going to give you any assurance that the state nominations are going to open up in February, like a lot of people mistakenly believe. The state nominations for offshore migrants are expected to open up or become available once the states have allocated the nominations to onshore migrants. So please look at it this way. You need to understand that though the quota for the financial year 2020-21 was considerably lower, still onshore applicants are not enough to meet the quota. So what I'm trying to say is that for the nomination 190 and 491, there are not enough applicants onshore in Australia this time who can complete, or let's say meet this year's quota. Therefore, the states will have no option but to come down to nominating offshore migrants. This is just for you to understand, because I understand there's a lot of negativity. Any video that I do, it may be circling around some other topic, but I end up getting questions from clients or viewers related to the states nominating. So please understand that the state nominations will be opening up for offshore applicants, but once they are done with nominating the onshore applicants, the process for which is currently on. So you have to actually look at it this way, that normally the states allocation numbers are decided by the Department of Home Affairs every year by the end of June. So from 1st July onwards, the states put out their state migration plans and start with the nomination applications. Now, owing to the COVID, this entire thing has been derailed, and what was supposed to happen on 1st of July actually happened in the first week of December, when the states were allocated their annual quota, and then they began inviting applications for nominations. But of course, since they don't want to right now get into nominations where border constraints are concerned, so they're only right now inviting applicants who are currently in Australia. But that certainly doesn't mean that they're not going to invite offshore applicants. They will be inviting them, but after they're done with the onshore migrants. So an interesting thing I've noticed, a lot of people say this, associated with this line of thought, of course. There are some applicants who feel that, okay, now that currently the states are not offering nominations to offshore applicants, so I'm done with my skills assessment and everything, but I don't think it's a good idea to take my IELTS test yet because the states are not open, so what's the point of taking the IELTS test? Now, there are some other people who say, okay, let the states start with the nomination process now, little realizing that nomination is the second step of the process. So they don't even want to get started with the first step. Okay, we'll start with the first step after the second step is available. After the second step process opens up, then we'll start with the first step. And there's a third category of people who are not even willing to lodge their EOI despite having a positive skills assessment, despite having an English proficiency score, with the understanding that it's pointless lodging an EOI right now. We'll lodge an EOI once the states open their nominations. Now, please let me tell you that these are three things you really need to get done with. This is not how you apply for Australia immigration. First of all, take your IELTS immediately. It is very important that you take your IELTS, submit your EOI as soon as possible, because once the states open up, you will not have the time to even read through their criteria. Forget about lodging an application or forget about taking an IELTS at that time. And those who are thinking of embarking on the journey for Australia migration, please get started at least with your skills assessment, because if you don't even get started with your skills assessment, how do you expect to become eligible for state nominations once the nominations open up? And let me tell you here, I mean, it's a word of caution, in fact, that skills assessment bodies There are about 35 skills assessment bodies in Australia, and most of them have already toughened up their criteria. So somebody who could get a positive skills assessment based on a certain criteria 2 years or 3 years from now will not get a positive skills assessment based on the same criteria, because the criteria has become very stringent with time. Let me give you an example of the university lecturer that is assessed by the VERISES. When we've got approvals for many university lecturers in the past who were not asked to submit any research publications, or who had research publications but they were not really very conscious about the quality of research. As on today, the quality of the research work is put through an acid test. So see, what has happened over the years is that if you had applied for your assessment 2 years back, you would have got it approved at a less stringent criteria, vis-a-vis those who are applying now, they are subjected to tougher, I would say, eligibility criteria. And also, let's go with the example of Australian Computer Society. Now, in the past, we've had approvals for, let's say, software engineers or web developers, software testers, and so on, many other occupations, where they had just one form or one evidence of paid employment. But now the ACS is not issuing approvals to those who do not have at least 2 evidence of paid employment. So those who already have got the skills assessment done about 2.5 years back, they are 2 years back, sorry, they are good to go. But those who are going to apply now, those who've been waiting that no, once we get closer to the nominations opening up, that is the time we'll get the skills assessment done. So they're going to find themselves in a bit of lurch. So as a migration agent, I can tell you that I look at Australia tightening up their assessment criteria. So it's important that you get started with your skills assessment immediately. Most skills assessments are valid for 3 years. So even if it takes a little while for the states to open up, at least you know you're done with the skills assessment, which is a major part of your visa application. And then secondly, I'd also like to tell you that once the states open up nominations for offshore, you will probably not even have enough time to launch the applications. Why I say this is because applicants have been waiting for nominations for a very, very long time. So there is a huge number of applicants and probably a very small window. For example, we've seen South Australia open up nominations for certain occupations that were available only for like 10 to 12 minutes. So that's nothing. So obviously, if you had your application absolutely ready according to the criteria, cross-checked everything, all the details in place, only then can you lodge a valid application. And for example, let's say NSW, a lot of times they had listed certain occupations, and probably the occupation was available only for a day. So by the time you would get to know that the nomination for a certain state has become open, or let's say your occupation has been listed for nomination under 190 or 491, there's a fair possibility that they already done with the quota by the time you end up even looking up at the criteria. So it is very important that we have the applications ready before time, because it's going to be on a first come first serve basis. And secondly, I'm assuming there is going to be a zero tolerance by the states in terms of any error in the application and in terms of any insufficient documentation. So how we basically work is that for our clients who sign up with us, whether they are starting from the first step, that is the skills assessment, or we also have a lot of clients who already are done with this skills assessment and engage us as their migration consultants to take the application forward, that is to the nomination state. So we prepare the applications, keep them ready with us based on the varied criteria of different states, because we may have NSW opening up, we may have Victoria opening up, we may have Western Australia or South Australia suddenly opening up. So we obviously will not wait to prepare a file once the application portal becomes open, because once an application portal becomes open, that means start sending your applications, and the moment they've had a sufficient number of applications, boom, they close the application portal and say, we are done, we've taken the applications we had to take, now wait for the next update. So and one thing I do want to mention here is that Those of you who are under some sort of a fallacy that probably an EOI should not be created, I strongly urge that the moment your skills assessment is done and you have the required English proficiency score, lodge your EOI. For example, when the state of Northern Territory began issuing nominations, though it was to onshore applicants, they insisted that we will be considering only those applicants who've lodged their or submitted their EOI before the 1st of December 2020. So probably the ones who lodged after that would not be considered. And also another thing I wanted to share with you was that we're also looking at the fee increase by some assessment bodies, whereas is the largest body being one. From February onwards, there's going to be an increase in fees. So, I mean, I don't see why you want to pay more when you can get your skills assessment approved by paying less. And another thing that with time, things have again become a little complicated. For example, NSW had recently introduced a very streamlined system wherein you had to just lodge one single application form and of course provide the supporting documents for your nomination. And now they have reverted to the old system wherein you need to apply individually to the different RDAs. That means you have to keep track of the different RDAs, the occupation lists of different RDAs, and of course their application process system and everything. So I just want to end this video by telling you that I do not want you to have a delusional approach about it. When I say delusional, what I mean is one, oh, the states are never going to open. They keep saying November and then they keep saying February. They're never going to open up for offshore migrants. Please let me tell you that's really not how it's going to happen. They need you and they will open up applications for you very soon. In fact, just look at it this way. If you look at the NSW criteria, go onto their website and check out the criteria. So there are 3 different criteria on the basis of which they grant you nomination. And one of the criteria is offshore migrants with 5 years of work experience. So in case they have no intentions of giving nominations to offshore applicants this year, why did they have to even introduce the criteria for offshore migrants? They could have very well done away with it. So as a migration agent, I am of the understanding that once the onshore nominations are done, you people are going to be invited for nominations very soon. So I want you to get started with your skills assessment. Start with your first step so that you can take advantage of the second step. And to see how we can assist you, please send us your CVs to us on CaanWings@gmail.com. That's CAANWINGS@gmail.com, or give us a call on 78498. Also, I'd like to thank all of you for subscribing to our channel. We've been getting overwhelming response, and I'm happy that we've reached a number of 15,000 YouTube subscribers. I hope more of you subscribe and take advantage of the regular updates that we make available to you. Until next time, take care and see you again.